Welcome everyone to the Bear Cryptids Iceberg Explained. Today we'll be looking into the world of mysterious bear sightings across the world. Tier 1. Nandy Bear. The Nandy Bear is located mostly in western Kenya in East Africa. It's often described as a shaggy, slope-backed animal similar to a hyena, but the reports about its appearance and behavior vary. Over time, the term Nandy Bear has been used to describe many creatures, such as baboon-like Kodolo, the Shiruver, and other animals like the giant forest hyena. This could be a result of mixed reports about known animals and unknown creatures. Descriptions of the Nandy Bear are usually similar though. It's described as a large, powerful animal with a sloping back. Its size is usually compared to that of a lion, and it stands between 4 and 5 feet tall at the shoulder. It has a large head, short rounded ears, and strong jaws. Its snout appears like a bear's, and its tail is short and tough. Its fur also ranges from colors like reddish brown to dark brown, with thick fur on the front half of its body and legs, while the back half is more smooth. The first documented sighting happened in 1905 during the Nandy expedition. Geoffrey Williams reported seeing a bear-like animal sitting near Surgoit Rock. Before he could act, the creature moved away in a sideways shuffle. This report wasn't published until 1912, when sightings of the Nandy Bear became more known during the construction of the Magadi Railway. There was another sighting in 1913 by G.W. Hicks and described as a tawny, shaggy creature with a broad body and sloping back. Now, throughout the 20th century, there were more reports which had claims of attacks. In 1914, a Nandy Bear was blamed for killing a young girl in a Kenyan village. During the hunt for the creature, Colonial Administrator William Hitchens described hearing its howl before it dragged off his dog. He also found clawed tracks. There were similar reports describing man-eating incidents and attacks on livestock, which could be connected to this bear. There were later sightings that occurred on the Chimomi Tea Estate in the 1950s, where Douglas Houghton, who reportedly shot 2 large hyena-like animals. These animals had sloping backs, heavy manes, and broad heads. They were sent to a museum in Nairobi, and they were labeled as giant forest hyenas. In the 1960s, there were reports of similar creatures, and one of the last confirmed sightings happened in 1998 when a large, shaggy bear-like hyena was seen near the Nandy Escarpment. Alaskan Giant Polar Bear. The Alaskan Giant Polar Bear is described as a large, white bear which is much larger than a Kodiak brown bear. The white fur and presence of hair on the pads of its feet distinguish it from other bear species. One woman from Kodiak Island vividly recalled her father killing one of these massive bears. She emphasized that it was entirely different from the Kodiak bears, which were common to the region. Sightings of this bear go beyond Alaska though. There have been reports surfacing in Greenland, Alberta, and Quebec. In Alberta, there's a couple riding a gondola in winter and claimed to have seen an enormous white bear with 2 heads, which is a highly unusual description. In Quebec, a French woman who was relaxing in a restaurant said she saw a giant white mass of fur running down a hill. But despite these sightings, expeditions to locate these creatures have led to no definitive evidence. There were sightings of these massive bears reported in London as well, which are far beyond Arctic and subarctic habitats. There's one account that describes a giant polar bear invading a subway train, while another claims one was seen plunging into a small city creek. There are some theories that say these giant polar bears could be remnants of a prehistoric species known as the Pleistocene polar bear. This bear is believed to be over 11 inches taller than the modern polar bear. If this species did survive until modern times, it could explain the reports of unusually large polar bears in various regions. Atlas Bear. The Atlas bear is an extinct subspecies of brown bear and was native to the Atlas Mountains and nearby regions in northern Africa. It was the only bear species to inhabit Africa during modern times. The bear's extinction in the 1870s led to the end of its known existence, but there are reports of sightings that have continued to emerge. This bear was known for its sturdy and powerful build and being shorter than the American black bear, but more robust. It had long, blackish-brown fur with reddish-orange underparts. Its claws and muzzle were short and made it different from other bear species. The Atlas bear was large, around 9 feet long, and weighing around 1,000 pounds. It was an omnivore, so it fed on roots, acorns, nuts, and sometimes small mammals. The species faced impact as the Roman Empire expanded into North Africa. Many Atlas bears were hunted for sport or captured to fight in Roman arenas. This reduced their population, with isolated groups persisting until the late 19th century. The last recorded Atlas bear was killed in the Tetouan Mountains of Morocco in 1870. Witnesses have occasionally described animals resembling the Alice bear. There has been no physical evidence to confirm these claims. Some of these reports are linked to other creatures like the Nandy Bear. In the 1950s, Alice bears were reportedly sighted by a local woman harvesting olives in Kabylie, Algeria. Another alleged sighting was in Tismsult, Algeria in 2016, but it was later debunked when the creature was identified as a striped hyena caught in a trap. Bergman Bear. The Bergman Bear is a likely extinct subspecies of the brown bear and was said to inhabit Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. It was first identified in 1920 by Swedish zoologist Sten Bergman. Bergman said it was a Cerberus subspecies after examining a hide with fur different from that of other bears in the region, as well as footprints measuring an enormous 14.5 by 10 inches. These tracks were significantly larger than those of the already massive Kamchatka brown bear, which is one of the largest bear species we know of. Natives refer to the bear as the Erkuyam, which is inspired by the appearance of the bear's hind legs. In the 1960s, hunter Rodion Sivobolov gathered accounts from locals about this animal. These stories described the bear larger than any other known in the area and distinct enough to suggest it might not be a typical brown bear from the area. Biologist N.K. Vereshchagin suggested that this bear could be a relict population of Arctodus simus, which is a giant short-faced bear that went extinct thousands of years ago. This prehistoric bear stood over 6 feet tall at the shoulder and could reach up to 15 feet on its hind legs. However, there is skepticism around this theory, since it had long, slender legs, unlike the baggy pants appearance associated with the Erkuyam. Also, some have said that the Cold War indirectly supported the population's survival by restricting human access to the region, which let the bears in remote areas thrive. The possibility of unusually large bears surviving in nearby Alaska has also been linked to the Bergman's Bear. An ice bridge which occasionally forms between Alaska and Russia in winter could allow animal migration. Reports of massive bears in Alaska, including record-breaking grizzlies, could explain the large bears migrating between regions. For example, the Boone and Crockett Club recorded the second largest grizzly skull in the world, which was found in Alaska in 2013, with a size a little over 27 inches. McFarland Bear. The McFarland's bear is an allegedly extinct bear species associated with Canada's Northwest Territories. In 1864, Inuit hunters apparently killed a large bear with unusual yellowish fur. They provided its skin and skull to naturalist Robert McFarland, who sent them to the Smithsonian Institution. Many years later, Dr. Clinton Hart Merriam rediscovered the species and identified them as distinct from known brown bears. In 1918, he classified the bear as a new species and genus, naming it Vetularctos inopinatus, which means ancient unexpected bear. This specimen remains the only physical evidence of the bear. There is no confirmed sightings or additional specimens that have been found since then, and this makes many believe it went extinct. There are theories about its origin, such as a grizzly polar bear hybrid, as its pale fur and unusual skull traits align with known hybrids. Others think it could be a surviving member of a Pleistocene bear species, but there's no evidence that has presented itself to support this claim. Modern DNA analysis or skull morphology studies could potentially resolve the mystery, but these tests haven't been conducted yet. There is one theory with credibility due to more documentation of grizzly polar bear hybrids. These hybrids share characteristics like pale fur and distinct skull shapes, which resemble a description of the McFarland Bear. In 1984, zoologist E. Raymond Hall reclassified Merriam's extensive taxonomy and reducing 96 proposed species of brown bears to just 9 subspecies under Ursus arctos. After this, Vetularctos inopinatus was synonymous with Ursus arctos horribilis, which is a common grizzly bear. Here 2. Koshu Bear. The Koshu Bear is from Kyushu, Japan, where the native bear population has been considered extinct since the last confirmed capture in 1987. Despite this though, there have been unofficial records of bear sightings in the region. One of the sightings occurred on October 17, 2015, when a man and woman reported seeing a bear-like animal running near the summit of Mount Sefuri, which is located between Saga and Fukuoka prefectures. They described the creature as being around 1 meter long in length. The following day, a male climber also observed a similarly described animal standing upright approximately 2 kilometers from the same summit. Mo. The Mo is from northern Burma in China's Yunnan province, described in the Treatise on the Nanman Southwestern Barbarians, which is a volume in the Book of the Later Han. The Mo is described as a bear-like creature, roughly the size of a donkey with pale fur. It was said to be a powerful animal capable of knocking objects down by lifting its forelimbs, which is a feature that sets it apart from typical bears. Its unique description led to speculation about its possible identity. David C. Zhu proposed that the Mo could have been a chaleco, which is a group of prehistoric ungulates that lived approximately 46 to 1 million years ago. This animal was thought to resemble a cross between a bear and a horse, with long forelimbs used to grasping branches. The genus Nestoritherium, which is one of the most recent calycthers, is known from the Pleistocene formations in Burma and existed around 2 to 1 million years ago, placing it in a plausible timeline where these accounts would make sense. He also suggested a connection to the Eomorphidae family, which is a group related to the calycthers that lived around 55 to 43 million years ago. These smaller creatures share some characteristics with their larger relatives, and fossil evidence has been found in both areas that are closely tied to the Mo's reported range. Shenanigans White Bear. This bear is known locally as Baijiang and is reported from the mountain forests of southeastern Hubei province in China. Sometime before 1960, the existence of this bear was based only on rumors. However, there were 4 individuals that eventually captured and displayed one in Chinese zoos. It's thought to be a variant of a brown bear, but its description closely resembles the Kermode bear, which is a white-furred subspecies of the black bear found in British Columbia. Both these bears are reported to inhabit forested mountains where such creatures could remain hidden. The value placed on bears by local populations has threatened their survival. In a small village in western China, a bear paw was once found in a drugstore and believed to have been transported through the ancient Silk Road. The paw was sold for $16, meaning the whole bear could go over $100, which is a large amount of money for the local economy. This demonstrates the economic significance to hunt these animals, which could lead to a decline in their population. Habitat destruction and human interference has also been an increased risk to bears. Fragmented habitats isolate these populations and reduce their genetic diversity and threaten their ability to survive long term. Even with large protected regions, such as the Yellowstone ecosystem, genetic diversity remains a significant concern. In smaller fragmented habitats, like those in Shenanigans, the challenges are even larger. Isolated populations would have to deal with risks like inbreeding and reduced adaptability, which make them even more vulnerable. Human-bear conflicts are also a problem, since issues like damage to crops, livestock predation, and competition over resources like orchids and beehives. Habitat and encroachment also limits their ability to roam and find food, and increases the likelihood of these conflicts. Golden Moon Bear. The moon bear is native to Asia and is a distinct species thought to be only distantly related to the American black bear. In Asia, there is a moon bear, which is a distinct species thought to be only distantly related to the American black bear. However, the discovery of a golden variation of the moon bear has challenged assumptions about its classifications. In the 2002 book, The Search for the Golden Moon Bear is a book by Cy Montgomery published in 2002 which explores this mystery. Traveling to Southeast Asia, she wanted to uncover whether the golden bird variation could represent a new species or subspecies. Her journey brought her to the heart of the moon bear's native habitat, but instead of finding answers, she encountered mistreatment of the bears. Many of them were kept in cages, starved, or exploited for their paws and organs, which are prized in traditional medicine and cuisine. She wrote a narrative that combines folklore, natural history, and scientific inquiry to show a glimpse into the challenges that are faced by these bears. The golden moon bear stands apart due to its unique color, but its status is uncertain. It could just be a color variation of the moon bear, a distinct subspecies, or a completely different species in general. Scientists have been cautious about making definitive claims since there have been past discoveries of supposed new species based on color phases but were disproven. In many cases, animals with different color phases have been found in the same litter or across overlapping habitats, which show that coloration alone isn't enough for a separate classification. In order to be a subspecies, an animal shouldn't just have physical differences from the main species, but also a different, distinct population in a unique habitat. The golden moon bear has still yet to demonstrate this level of distinction since its range and habitat aren't fully understood yet. Whether the golden moon bear classifies as a new species altogether has still yet to meet a In order for the golden moon bear to be a new species in general, it has even stricter criteria to meet. There are traditional methods of classification which rely on whether two animals could interbreed and produce fertile offspring, with fertility showing they belong to the same species. There are many animals like lions and tigers that can produce hybrids like ligers in captivity, but despite being clearly separate species in the wild. Also, polar bears, grizzlies, black bears, and European brown bears are also capable of producing fertile offspring with one another. Pygmy brown bear. The pygmy brown bear is linked to sightings in the Yanachaga-Chimillan National Park, which is in the Pasco department of Peru. Descriptions of these bears come from park rangers who claim to have encountered them on multiple occasions. They describe the animals as small, with brown fur, and distinct from the region's known bear species. In specific, one report mentions a young bear that was allegedly being raised by a local resident. Encounters suggest that the pygmy brown bear might represent a unique and undocumented bear population, but its identity remains unsure. The idea that these bears could be simply undersized, examples of the speculated bear, Termarctos ornatus, has been suggested. The bear is South America's only recognized bear species and is well documented. However, park rangers familiar with this bear have insisted the small brown bears they encountered did not resemble the species at all. Their observations suggest physical and behavioral differences, which are significant to set both of them apart. This discrepancy has led some to question whether the pygmy brown bear could be an entirely separate bear type, distinct both from speculated bears and other known species. Carl Marsh presented a theory that the pygmy brown bear might represent a tropical variety of the brown bear, which is absent from South America. He pointed out a biological trend where animals living in tropical forests often exhibit smaller body sizes compared to their temperate relatives. This concept comes from ecological adaptation, which might explain the reduced size reported in these Peruvian bears. If this is true, it would imply a previously unrecorded population of brown bears which are uniquely suited to the tropical forest environment. This will lead to a question about how such a population could have survived and been undetected for so long. Adams Hedgehog Bear. The hedgehog bear has a single reported sighting from the mountainous region of southern Oregon in the United States. This account comes from John Grizzly Adams, who is a mountain man known for his encounters with wildlife during the 19th century. He shared his story with his biographer, Theodore H. Hittel, describing an encounter near Upper Klamath Lake with an animal he found so unusual that he referred to it as one of the nondescript wonders of the Pacific coast. He said that the creature resembled a hedgehog but had the head and feet of a bear. Although his description was vague, he admitted he couldn't provide further details and that him and his party were unable to capture the animal. The lack of physical evidence and the brief nature of the account leads a lot of speculation. Its strange appearance, with its trait of two distinct animals, leads to a lot of questions about its identity and whether it could be a known species showing a rare or unusual condition. Matthew A. Bill suggested that the hedgehog bear story is brief and straightforward enough to be considered credible, unlike other reports that are pretty exaggerated. He theorized that the creature may have been a bear suffering from a rare skin condition that caused its fur to appear spiky, giving it a hedgehog-like appearance. This interpretation aligns with the possibility of natural explanations, but does little to confirm what Adams actually encountered. Booger Bears. Booger bears, which are also known as bulldog bears, are reported in the United States and Canada. They are described as large animals with features that combine traits of bears, cats, and gorillas. Sightings occur in mountainous regions, swamps, and even along rivers and even in isolated areas at times. Reports describe them as having cat-like faces, strong builds, and fur that resembles lions or gorillas. Some accounts say they have glowing eyes and that their nature is different from the behavior of many known bear species. Reports say that they resemble an unknown grizzly bear from the high plains of North America, which is described as a predator of bison. This animal is thought to have disappeared when the bison populations declined. In Kentucky in 1967, there was an animal reported stealing cattle, was shot and identified as a large bear weighing around 650 pounds. Witnesses noted its unusual features, such as a cat-like face, which differed from other bears in the region. In 1995, there was a hunter near the Canadian border in Michigan who said he saw an unidentified animal. He described it as a mix of polar bear, Arctic wolf, ape, and big cat. The creature had white fur, a flat face, and ridges on its body. It moved in a way that resembled cats, but despite being shot at, it fled without injury. It is thought that Booger Bears may be living short-faced bears, which are a species that have gone extinct thousands of years ago. Tier 3. Hamo Hog Bear. The Hamo Hog Bear is related closely in appearance to black and brown bears, but the hog bear is distinguished by its sharply pointed muzzle and its curled fur. The Northern California countryside during the late 19th century was ideal for pig farming, with the region's economy heavily relying on pork production. The landscape featured many oak trees which dropped sweet acorns that served as the hog's primary food source. Over the course of the season, as acorns were ripening higher up the mountains, pigs would slowly go up and consume them. By late December, the pigs had grown very fat from the food and almost became immobile, which made them very vulnerable. This is when the Hamo Hog Bear would appear, taking advantage of defenseless livestock. The bear's hunting style was described as bizarre and frustrating to farmers. Instead of consuming the hogs entirely, the bear would take a single bite from each pig and causing them to bleed out and die. This method didn't only result to significant loss of livestock, but also frustration amongst local farmers who found their herds destroyed with little benefit to the predator. There's one account from Eugene S. Bruce, who was an employee of the Forestry Services. Bruce was said to have captured a cub, which he later donated to the National Zoo in Washington for study. However, there are no official records of this creature that remain. Red Mountain Bear. There are reports that describe a bear inhabiting the lower stretches of the Andes and is noted by its reddish-colored fur. It's distinct from the typical bear that South Americans recognize. There are some theories that suggest this bear might represent a color variation with the spectacled bear population, since variations occur occasionally in known species. However, its appearance and location led others to think of a more ancient lineage. There's a hypothesis that states this reddish bear could be a descendant of the short-faced bears, an extinct group known for its massive size and unusual cranial structure. Murung River Bear. The Murung River Bear is reportedly found along the Kendeng-Murung River in eastern Borneo. This bear was first documented by explorer Leonard Clark, who provided vivid descriptions of its behavior and characteristics. According to him, the bear was large and a forest-dwelling species that appeared in significant numbers along the riverbanks once a year. These gatherings were said to coincide with the ripening of river berries, which seemed to be a primary food source for the bears during this time. Unlike many other bear species though, the Murung River Bear was described as an aggressive and formidable creature. It was capable of swimming and is noted for attacking boats traveling along the river. His reports also stated that these bears would claw humans to death. Their ability to thrive in dense forests and go through aquatic environments shows a high level of adaptability that makes them well suited to Borneo's ecosystems. Ouya Coare. The Ouya Coare is also known as the naked bear and comes from folklore from the Tuscarora Nation and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. It's described as a large, bear-like animal and nearly hairless body. Stories claim that the naked bears were hunted to extinction many years ago. According to the Haudenosaunee, naked bears were exterminated around the 17th century due to their threat to human populations. One story says there was one naked bear that terrorized the woods, preying on hunters and instilling fear throughout the region. This creature was eventually killed through a coordinated effort in which hunters stationed themselves on a high rock, lured the bear close, and attacked it with arrows and stones. After severing the bear's head, the hunters brought it back to the village where it was displayed as a trophy. There were also neighboring tribes, including the Mohicans, that also claimed to the feat of slaying the beast. The creature was said to have a long, broad body with a massive head. It had short, thick legs and ended in widely spread paws with claws as long as human fingers. Its body was mostly hairless, except for patches of fur down its hind legs, and it had a very loud roar. The naked bear was very dangerous and responsible for killing many Native Americans, particularly women and children that worked outdoors. However, its predation went beyond humans, since it would eat livestock, bears, and other animals. The Tuscarora legacy, recorded by J.N.B. Hewitt, describes the bear as either a giant bear-like creature or a mammoth-like being, which provides possibility that these stories were influenced by ancient memories of creatures like ground sloths or early megafauna. Kupugiak. The Kupugiak is also known as Kogogiak and is described as a 10-legged polar bear. This creature is said to inhabit Arctic regions where it's rumored to attack Inuit villages like a typical polar bear. However, what sets it apart is its reported multiple pair of legs. It's described as resembling a polar bear, but with many more limbs. Its carnivorous nature aligns with the behavior of real polar bears and is known to be apex predators in their frigid environments. However, the idea of a 10-legged polar bear raises many questions about its plausibility. There's one theory that says sightings of Kupkugiak could come from hallucinations due to extreme Arctic conditions, isolation, which can distort perception. Another possibility is that observers may have mistaken a group of polar bears, such as a mother and her cubs, traveling closely together for a single multi-limbed bear. There are genetic anomalies that could provide an explanation too. It is conceivable that rare deformities could lead to a polar bear with additional limbs. Tier 4. Bear dogs. Bear dogs are extinct creatures that weren't closely related to bears or dogs, regardless of their name. These animals were part of the suborder California and exhibited physical traits that seemed to blend the features of bears and dogs, which made an unusual hybrid-like appearance. They were once a diverse group with numerous species, but bear dogs eventually declined and disappeared. Fossils suggest that they vanished from the New World around 2 million years ago, while the most recent Old World fossils date to about 10,000 years ago. However, some evidence shows there's a possibility that bear dogs may have survived in isolated and remote regions since there are sightings from icy valleys between Canada and Alaska. Blue-headed black bear. The blue-headed black bear is reported from British Columbia and is described as a black bear with an unusual blue head. The sighting came from a driver who observed the animal on the side of a highway. Apart from its coloration, the bear appeared to have the typical features of a normal black bear. This sighting led to many theories about the cause of its color. One explanation states the bear might have come into contact with cobalt blue paint by sticking its head into a container of paint or being hit with paintballs. However, the uniformity of the color brings up doubt on these ideas. There's another suggestion that the sighting might have just been fabricated as a part of a hoax. One plausible theory states a genetic condition known as partial melanism. Melanism is the development of an excess of the dark pigment melanin in the skin or fur. In some cases, partial melanism can lead to unusual colors like cobalt blue. Milne. The Milne is reported from the Peruvian Amazon and is known from only a single sighting by explorer Leonard Clark in 1946. This sighting occurred along the Ucayali River in eastern Peru, where he observed an unusual bear-like creature that defied any classification known to South American fauna. His description portrayed the Milne as a massive black bear, which is both insectivorous and semi-aquatic. His encounter began when he discovered footprints on the riverbank measuring 14 inches in length. These prints were strikingly human-like and resembled those of a giant man. The following day, while floating down the river with his party, he witnessed the source of these tracks, a colossal black bear clawing apart a rotten tree stump to feed on ants and larvae. According to Clark, the bear was called Milne by the Kampa people of the region. He said that the creature was distinct from the spectacled bear as the only officially recognized bear species native to South America. The Kappa people also described another bear in the lower eastern Andes, which was believed to be red in color and it might be related to the Macarena bear. Clark's first-hand account detailed the bear's reaction to the rafts drifting downriver. It was initially startled by the sound of a paddle striking the water, so the bear jumped into the river and swam directly toward Clark's raft. Describing the encounter as breathtaking, he said that his party abandoned the raft as the bear approached aggressively. It was only 3 feet away till Clark used his Colt pistol to fire a single shot to kill it instantly. However, before he could retrieve the carcass, a swarm of black pound fish, which is a ferocious aquatic species known for their aggressive behavior, came up and forced Clark to release the bear's paw and abandon the specimen. Jim Halfpenny dismissed the spectacled bear as a candidate due to its size and distinct facial markings, which don't match Clark's description. Carl Schucker noted the coincidental connection between the bear's name Milne and A. Milne, who is the creator of Winnie the Pooh. However, Dale A. Drinan said that the name is more likely derived from an Arawakan linguistic root pronounced as Milne or Milne. He also proposed the possibility that it could have been a surviving short-faced bear. Beast of Bears. The Beast of Bears is reported from southern Texas, Florida, Virginia, and potentially Arkansas as well. It's described as a large bear-like creature and is distinct due to its scarred appearance and patches of missing fur. It's often associated with swampy and forested areas. It is said to emit a strong and unpleasant odor. A unique feature of this bear is its allegedly large red eyes, which some compare to those of the Mothman. This detail, combined with its proximity to marshy habitats, has led some to think that the creature may possess gills, letting it navigate and survive in aquatic environments. The first reported sighting of the Beast of Bears occurred on October 12, 1973, when photographer Philip Hyde encountered the creature at a camping site near Alice, Texas. This sighting led to 31 other reports, and the most recent of those took place on May 1, 2012, in a backyard near Crestview, Florida. Sightings often describe the creature wandering through marshlands or dense forests. Although most of the reports come from the United States, there is some evidence hinting at the creature's presence in Canada as well. There's a drawing that suggests similar creatures may inhabit northern regions, which may link it to Inuit folklore. Pigfaced Bear Kaiju. The Pigfaced Bear Kaiju is reportedly sighted in Kami-Hetsugi, Oita Prefecture, Japan. This creature's unusual appearance and a single documented encounter make it pretty intriguing. It's described as having a head resembling that of a pig, while its limbs are distinctly bear-like. The sighting occurred in 1988 when a truck driver accidentally struck the creature while driving along a road in Kametsugi. Although it was alive right after the collision, the next day it was found deceased. This brief observation provided the primary details about its strange physical attributes, but there are no further reports or evidence to confirm its existence. The identity of the pig-faced bear kaiju remains uncertain, but there are some explanations that suggest it could have been a bear suffering from a skin disease. This condition might have distorted the creature's appearance, giving it the unusual pig-like features. The possibility that it was indeed a bear is considered plausible since few animals in Japan share limb structures similar to bears. Northern Giant. The Northern Giant is described as an enormous bear reportedly seen near Fairbanks, Alaska. This creature is noted for its large size, which is almost 14 to 15 feet tall at the shoulder. Its golden fur and massive paws also add to its imposing appearance. There are theories about the Northern Giant's identity, but they vary widely. Some suggest it could be a relic population of short-faced bears, which were massive predators that roamed North America in the Pleistocene epoch. Others think that the Northern Giant Bear could be an unusually large individual of the Kodiak brown bear, which is one of the largest bear species in the world and native to Alaska. Grizzly bears are also considered a possibility since they share the region and are known for their large size and strength. Accounts of the Northern Giant Bear emphasize its physical dominance and how rare it is. Its golden fur sets it apart from any other bear species in the area, and its size exceeds the largest known bears on record. Tibetan White Bear. The Tibetan white bear is reported from isolated areas of the Tibetan Himalayas. It's described as a bear with white fur, which draws comparisons to the polar bear. However, polar bears inhabiting the Himalayan region is pretty implausible because of the vast difference in the ecosystems. Philippe Caudray proposed that the Tibetan white bear might be a variant of the brown bear with a genetic condition like albinism, or another mutation that changes its color. Caudray also suggested that the Tibetan white bear might exhibit similarities to the Kermode bear, which is also known as the spirit bear, a subspecies of the American black bear. Kermode bears occasionally produce individuals with white fur because of a recessive genetic trait. If this white bear is indeed a form of brown bear, it could represent a similar case of genetic variation with an established species rather than a completely new bear species. I hope you enjoyed watching, and make sure to comment, like, and subscribe.